Kia ora. Well, a very messy looking pattern on the charts behind me. We've already seen a fair bit of wet weather through places like the Bay of Plenty this morning, as much as 30 millimetres of rainfall in places like Rotorua and up towards Whitianga as well. Some thunderstorms ran through us. We've still got some more wet weather as we head through that region through the rest of the daytime, but you can see it's all wrapping down, pushing in towards particularly these eastern parts. There is a severe weather warning out for heavy rainfall through there, and then wrapping round in towards that area of low pressure. So still a fairly unsettled and wet looking afternoon across the North Island. While down south, plenty of clear sky around places like central Otago, a fine looking story there. But this low pressure system stays pretty close by, and it will bring some wetter weather as we head through the night time and towards the early hours of the morning for this western side of the North Island as well. But it is an improving story towards the end of the day, but more in the way of some clearer sky back with us for a time through the night. But before we get there, we have still got some severe weather watches and warnings to watch out for. You can see we've got watches across most of the Bay of Plenty, with a watch for those areas west of Opotiki through to about 6 o'clock this evening, and those areas to the east, that's where we've got our heavy rain warning, and that runs right the way through in towards the night time tonight. There's also a heavy rain watch for those areas in those western parts of the Tasman region west of Motueka as we head through the daytime. But some of the most active weather we've seen this morning has been on thunderstorms. We've seen some severe thunderstorm warnings on some of those really intense thunderstorms that have moved through the Bay of Plenty. And we've still got that risk across the rest of the region up in towards those far northern parts of Tairāwhiti as we head through the rest of the morning today for Wednesday, and even in through the first couple of hours of the afternoon as well. So there is that severe thunderstorm watch, which means we could find some really intense bursts of rainfall, some strong gusts of wind as well, and some flashes of lightning as we head through the afternoon. Do keep a close eye on the forecast and on the Met Service radar pages, which you can find on our website. But it is, I think, going to be a wet looking story on that western side of the North Island through the night. This next area of low pressure runs in towards us, and as we head in towards those early hours of the morning on Thursday, we could find some pretty intense bursts of rainfall around that western coast from, say, Taranaki up towards Waikato. Could well find some more thunderstorms, and also there is that small risk of perhaps some tornadoes through there as well. Relatively small in scale, but still enough to bring some pretty gusty winds in those early hours of the morning. But I think it could be a bit of a wet and windy start on that western coast. You'll see some better weather out towards the east, but even here I think a fair covering of cloud and a few showers down towards those southern parts of the North Island. While down in the far south, we are looking at clearer skies through most of Canterbury, and that next area of wet weather feeding up from the south. And when we get those clearer skies, we get the return of those cold, frosty temperatures. Lows are back to around about 0 to 2 degrees Celsius through Canterbury and down towards Otago. But it's a very different story up north. 13 degrees Celsius up through Northland and Auckland are minimum temperatures. So a really very warm night thanks to all that warm, moist air being wrapped around that area of low pressure. Now on in towards the early morning on Thursday, we have got that wet weather moving across us. Some heavy showers there for a time, but things should get better as we head in towards the afternoon in terms of drier weather. We'll find a bit of clearance for a time down this eastern side. This next area of wet weather moves in towards the far southern parts of the North Island later on. While down south, we're watching a front moving up from the south, bringing more cloud in towards Canterbury, but the heaviest rainfall down in the far south of the region as we go through the morning time. For the North Island, we start off with that wet weather from, say, Taranaki towards Northland. That pulls away out towards the east as we head through the daytime, but still with some fairly heavy, perhaps thundery bursts on that as well. It will get better through the afternoon. A few showers from, say, Manawatu and down towards Horowhenua and down towards the Kapiti coast. They'll clear off, and some brightness as we head through the afternoon before more cloud feeds back in towards Wellington later on. But you can see generally it's an improving day, but we will always keep hold of more cloud around that western coast as we head through the daytime on Thursday. But the heaviest rainfall will be during those early hours of the morning around dawn around that western coast. So do keep a close eye on the forecast as we head through the rest of today. In terms of our temperatures, well, it's still going to be a bit of a cool night in those inland areas, 4s and 5s, but compared to what we saw last week, nothing that bad. And lows of only about 11 degrees Celsius in Auckland, a fine looking start today on Friday. Down on the South Island, well, we have a bit more cloud across the northern parts to start with, a few showers there. Most of the wet weather, though, down in the far south. We will find perhaps some snowfall down to about 1,000 metres through those mountains, about the tops of the Remarkables, for example. As this front moves northwards, it weakens away, but enough to bring more cloud in towards Canterbury. A few showers, mainly about the foothills and the ranges. We'll find a few showers on the western side as well, but they'll really peter out quite nicely. And as we head in towards the night time, cloudier skies across northern Canterbury, but plenty of clear sky elsewhere, and the return of those cold temperatures quite widely across the South Island. Back down to about freezing through parts of central Otago and Canterbury, while up to the north we are looking at temperatures being just this side of zero, and daytime highs in places like Marlborough around about 18 degrees Celsius. On in towards Friday and the weekend, high pressure sits with us. So for Friday, most of the time across the North Island, plenty of fine, dry weather. More cloud on that far western coast of the South Island. And this next area of wet weather moves in as well. And we are going to find that moves northwards as we head on in towards Saturday, pushing up the South Island with some heavy falls expected about the ranges of Westland. That's it from me. There's more at metservice.com.